So let's go ahead and get started. As usual, allowing yourself to settle not around your body, don't collapse your body in any particular direction, but rather find yourself in a upright, aligned position. And then soften through that structure. First, of course, practicing that quality and ability to simply be here. Not actively trying to do anything or go anywhere or be anything. Just be okay being here. That's always first. Like that old joke says, the first thing you want to do is to become a human being instead of a human doing. And then once you find yourself comfortably here, not adding anything, then you can begin the Song Jing breathing practice, this exhaling through your mouth and letting your whole body soften. Softening into presence, that's Song. And then as you inhale, this stillness deepens. That's Jing. Song Jing. continuing to return to the present moment, softer and softer. Another couple of minutes. Continuing to ease open. Whatever you were doing earlier in the day, leave it behind. And then when you're ready, we can begin moving through the set on the head and neck. I will put my headphones down. But first, as usual, I'd like to welcome those people that are finding themselves here. They're not quite certain what we're doing. We're happy to have you here. And if you look down below the video, in the comments section, there's a link to an introductory video that will help you understand this practice a lot more. And then you can come back and join us for these live classes more easily. And of course, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box and we'll do our best. I don't know if it shows up or not on camera, but we're having a bit of a wonderful windstorm here today. We have a lot of bamboo just out in front where you can't see, and they're all knocking together in this wonderfully chime-like way. Snow's already almost gone in the mountain. It was a super dry winter. Not cold at all. Very interesting time. Taking your time, allowing your awareness to soak into the tissues, cultivating that sense of presence, friendliness, very gentle awareness of what's going on, willingness to be supportive and nurturing to your body. Yesterday we emphasized the 8th extraordinary vessel, the yin wei mai, the yin linking vessel, that which connects all of the yin channels together. We talked about what that means and the significance and how that functions, so I won't go over that so much today. If you happen to miss it, all of these videos are all over on Patreon. And speaking of which, I'm changing the way I'm posting on Patreon because I've just been posting too many emails for people. And so instead, I'm putting everything into playlists on YouTube. And then the link to that playlist is on Patreon. And so I'll just post all of the updates into these playlists, and then you can simply find them there anytime you want. And then once a week, I'll post a digest for people who don't want to have missed anything, just so that people know all of the stuff that I posted. Because at this point now, I'm posting several times every day. And one of the qualities that we want to take note of is this difference between the yin side of the body and the yang side of the body. The nature of the channels from one side to the other. Paying attention to that difference, feeling that difference for yourself from the inside with your own body. And if you can, then you'll actually be able to trace the yang linking vessel for yourself. Pericardium 6 on the inside, which was the main confluence point for the yin linking vessel. The yang linking vessel, the main confluence point for that is on the outside. The outer gate, Waiguan, Sanzhou 5. So we can connect and circulate both of these points here But we want to spend some extra moments relating to and opening this point here on the back of the wrist, just 2 or 3 centimeters above the wrist crease. Easing that open, taking your time, being very gentle. And again, allowing your awareness to soak into the body at that point. See if you can feel even a little bit deeper than the skin. I'm going a bit more quickly through the sequence today because I have a couple of treatments immediately after this that I have to drive to. So we'll end just a little bit early. And so again, I always encourage you to spend as much time as you need to deepen this connection and soften the tissues open. The experience of the yin way and the yang way is very much like actually where I'm sitting right now. Hey, we have a Mel. Welcome, Mel. That as I look over, because we're on the top of a hill here, this is the high point, the sun hits us differently on one side than it does on the other. I've experienced a bunch of times, actually, where it's raining here, but not right here, because of the shape of the hill and how the movement of the weather, of the wind, like flowing water, is diverted and redirected around this valley that we have here. It's fascinating. Snow accumulation will be completely different on one side than the other. And also how fast the snow melts because of the way the sun is hitting the area. And these channels, all of the yin channels together and all of the yang channels together, which is what we're talking about with these linking vessels, they have a quality to them, very much like the weather patterns on one side and the other. It's all one area in the way that we're all one body. But because of how we're shaped and how we exist in the world and how we move, the movement of life through us and around us, the wear and tear on our body, this kind of thing, we are shaped around that difference. And so if you can feel in broad strokes this difference between yin and yang channels on the body, then instantly you will have a sense of how to find these lines, the yin and yang lines that travel around the body. Just in the same way that a meteorologist would notice the difference between that side of the hill and that side of the hill. And we're not just learning these things for academic interest, although they are academically interesting, but because of the relationship between how we are in our bodies when we have an understanding of something. When we experience a difference in our bodies, it changes how we are in our bodies, how we move. That's this relationship between the mind and the body, chi flow. And so by giving you these maps that I've been talking about ad nauseum during this class, boring a lot of you, I'm sure. But if you can get a sense of this map, this blueprint, then we start to experience the body differently. We find subtleties about the body that we didn't realize. And especially as we get better at allowing our awareness to soak into various layers of the body, to open up various qualities of the mind, it changes how we are as people. So it's very useful to know these things for a number of reasons. But it is also just interesting. Spending extra time on this triple warmer 5 point on the back here, the outer gate. As you work with this point, have a sense of that difference between the yin and the yang side of the body, the yin and the yang expression in the channels. Remember softening all along the heart and the small intestine channel. Softening open the solar plexus, easing them open with that kind-hearted, friendly intention, especially this time of year. Kindness and friendliness are the antidote to the poison of anger, bitterness, rage, but also guilt and shame, which are the same emotional expression, basically just directed inside instead of outside. Although I really love that definitional difference between guilt and shame. At least the way that I learned it was that guilt is I did something wrong, and so you can make up for it. But shame is I am something bad. I am something wrong instead of I did something wrong. Very interesting. Seems like so much of healing is helping people, in the very least, transform something from shame into guilt, so then they at least have access to healing it. Feels good. moving side to side when you are at this point, having some awareness of that belt vessel that we worked on, diamine. And then similarly, as you soften the lower back, moving up and down over the Mingmen, having some awareness of that dual channel, that governing or directing vessel that we talked about. Not trying to do anything with the awareness, simply allowing the awareness to become part of your experience. Expanding the map of your own anatomy. Again, I know some of you have very tight IT band lines here, these gallbladder channels. And so you can always spend extra time on these points, but also all the way up and down. Remember that you want to warm and soften. If you do things that press into it, like roll a ball or one of those foam rollers or vibrate the heck out of it, very often what happens is that it tightens up further because it's being irritated. And that's how this part of the system responds to that kind of stimulation. So please pay attention to the response of your body and be gentle. We are scientists of healing. This is our laboratory. Pay attention to what is changing inside us and continue to make the changes that allow us to open and soften further, become more pliant and healthy, vibrant, and kind. Otherwise, what's the point? Please be gentle with your back and your body as you stimulate the points on the lower legs. Hopefully by now you've worked out how to do it in a way that is friendly and easier for your system, and that it's becoming easier as you get softer and more open. Little every day. That's the most important piece, is that consistent, gentle stimulation. The body slowly changes because we do a little bit to it every day. We become a little bit healthier. 1%. A 1% change over the course of 100 days. One 1% every day. And remember that just because I'm going a little bit more quickly through the set, you can take as long as you want on any of these areas that require the extra attention. Which is to say, you should take longer in those areas that require more from you. But always taking the time to connect with, make contact with every square inch of your body, or the ones that you're able to at least. For those of you who remember this gallbladder 41 point that we worked on occasionally, off on the side of the foot here, the foot near tears point, that is another useful confluence point for this yang way, this yang linking vessel of the 8 extraordinary vessels. Remember, it's not a channel. It's different, it's deeper than that. And so as you settle your fingers in there, you'll see me do it almost every time that we do this regular practice anyway. But you can connect to that and again, develop that deep awareness of the yang surfaces of the body. Chris is saying I'm not talking enough. I wonder if his computer sound is off. The main thing you want to be focusing on isn't necessarily my voice, but instead the sensation in your body, the experience of being in your body. That's one of the great things about this practice is you're here, right here, now. Constantly drawing you back into the moment. I knew it. Chris, you keep getting of great stillness from me because your computer freezes, and great periods of silence because your sound is off. Next, you'll know that you'll forget to turn your screen on and you'll think your eyes are closed. Full comfortable circles on everything that you touch. Everything is easy and opening. Remember, you're not trying to penetrate deeply. You're simply allowing your awareness to sink into that space. Yeah, Chris, you missed all kinds of good stuff. You'll have to go back and watch it again. And speaking of which, haven't had any free time to make those shorts for YouTube, which honestly is one of the ways that people learn about this stuff the most. Like we'll get thousands of hits on these little 2 minute or 1 minute, I think they're 1 minute long shorts. I'm not sure how long they are. But I don't have the time to go through all my videos and make clips for them. And so if any of you who are watching ever feel like watching one of the videos that I've made, and if you find that there's some 1 minute really useful piece of discussion that by itself stands alone, that could be a clip just for anybody, please, just on YouTube, there's a little button that says make a clip, and select it and send it to me, or just write down the time. And that way it'll save me from having to go hunt for them. If you happen to be watching a video and you think, oh my gosh, Mel made an amazing point, then you can send that to me and we'll put that out. But it can't be more than, I guess, a minute or two long. That's the difficult part. Be here, now, right here. Here, present. Don't wander away. Let's see. Well, I guess I'll do this. Remember to fold at the hips. This is probably more easily done either standing or seated. That is seated flat on the ground, depending on your level of flexibility, but you could also do it this way. Full comfortable circles. Oh wow, my socks show up really bright on this camera. They're not really that red. Circling all the way around, both directions. Let's also do that motion, turning the toes in and out. As well as grasping with the toes. I'm just using my hands to show what I'm doing with my feet. But I've noticed that this actually seems to make it easier for people to use their feet. They're using their hands to train their feet, which is something we do in Tai Chi practice as well. You can also use your feet to warm your feet and stimulate those channels and those points. This is a nice thing to do as well if you have trouble reaching to your feet because you're either stiff or because you carry around a watermelon on your body. Softening your waist. So now I'm going to click my teeth, lengthen my tongue without any tension in the throat, and then move my tongue around my teeth. I've been doing it 9 times. If you're able to start increasing the number, maybe try 10 or 11, as long as, again, it's not making you feel like your tongue is straining. Eventually it will be easy. It won't feel like anything, but you want to stay in that realm of it being effortless so that you don't begin introducing tension into this area that we're trying to soften. And then again, swallowing saliva down. Do your best to follow that movement as far down as you can until your mind is resting, at least in the navel, preferably behind the navel. Allowing your awareness to slowly expand from the dantian to the space around it in your body, including that membrane layer, this fascial layer, the empty spaces in the body. It's like you've got a light inside that you're slowly turning up its brightness. Until it shines outside the body as well. Your awareness begins to fill the space around you, but your awareness is still anchored in the center. Part of the practice over time is that you switch the center of where you feel that you are existing from. For most people, it's head-centered or heart-centered, depending on where most of their energy is being expended. A lot of people feel like they live just in the center of their head. And for many other people who are maybe more emotionally expressive and emotionally based, they feel as though they exist from the center of their chest. They say, this is me. And it's possible to settle your awareness down further than that by allowing your energy to begin expressing itself from the center, first through accumulating it there. And this has the impact of significantly changing where your energy is being expended. Most of our energy seems to be expended through wild emotions or constant thinking, or some mixture of the two. And by taking all of that down and resting more in the body, things become more calm, more settled, anchored. The mind is far more quiet. And so all of these practices are constantly having this impact of helping us find our way down. Even a practice like Taiji, that once you learn to unlock your Dantian, every movement that you make comes from here. So everything that you do, even if I reach for my tea, I'm feeling this rotate and lead the movement. And so it gets easier and easier to have your awareness resting here. But you have to take the time to cultivate all of that. And by putting your awareness into your body in this gentle, present, consistent way, that really makes a big change. We just have to do it regularly enough. And remember that, and I was talking about this in yesterday's class as well, you don't want to try to push your mind down. You don't want to take your mind and force it into a place like your Dantian. All that does is pull your chi up, because where you're forcing it from is up here. Instead, you allow your awareness to sink down into your body in this effortless way, which is how we're practicing here. We're not trying to force our mind into the tissues. We're allowing things to settle and penetrate like the heat from our hand. We're using our body to guide the mind in a more effortless way. We're using the saliva to guide the mind in a more effortless way, rather than trying to force the mind to move around. And for people that exist in this world of force and tension, they can't imagine another way of living. And so for them, it's like an emergency situation. They have to learn another way to be. We have to learn another way that's not through force and rage and fear and giant reactions and exhaustion and hyperabundance. There's another way, and we have to find that for ourselves. And that's when life stabilizes. Any questions before I head out here? Just got a couple minutes. Thanks, Steph. It is just nice having you here. Steph, as part of the community, is a really beautiful thing. And by the way, Steph, I have been thinking about your question about kind of like mommy and me style Qigong practices. I think it's a really beautiful idea. And I think some of it is that you can actually, in the way that if I was to practice standing posture and I went out into the forest to some healthy trees and I practiced among the trees, kind of allowing the way they are to influence me, their chi, so to speak, to influence how I am. And people find themselves standing much more straight for longer. They're more relaxed because the way the tree is, the chi of the tree influences me in its healing. And I think that there's something to that in the sense of you allowing yourself to be influenced by this perfectly healthy, balanced creature in your arms. And so, not that you should treat your child like a tree and put them over here and then practice Qigong trying to copy the infant Qigong or something. But I think probably there's some methods that are a way for you to heal by resonating with that pure, open innocence, that quality of freshness and pure liveliness and inherent balance that we're born with, and that it will help you resonate with and rediscover that in yourself, which I think is really cool. But of course, I think there are other methods, depending on the health of your child. Most children tend to be born these days perfectly healthy, fingers crossed, knock on wood. But like, for instance, I was not. I was born with a lot of problems, spent a lot of time in the hospital. And so a practice for me would have been good. But I think these days, most kids seem to be born perfectly healthy, in which case then we don't really want to do anything to them other than just be loving and present and give. That's the chi that they need, which I know that you would be naturally amazing at anyway. But maybe there's something you can receive from the wisdom of that child. And so it's just something I've been thinking about. I don't know enough about it yet. I still need to wait until I can talk to ZhiCheng, who is still socially distancing. But I will let you know. Okay, looks like that's all. Thank you, everybody. I love you. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Tomorrow. Hit the like button. Subscribe. Find some clips for me.